Good morning. Welcome to Morning Java, brought to you as always by our friends at the Get-Go Cafe and Market, where they bring the stuff right to you. Curbside pickup. All you do is you order on your Giant Eagle app, and it is the Giant Eagle app, which also functions as your Get-Go app, and they bring it right out to you. I'm joined from lovely, spectacular Hendersonville, Tennessee, by Ramon Foster. Hi, Moan.
What's going on, man?
You know what's going on, actually? Football. Mike Tomlin spoke with us for the first time since the draft. So I was going to say it hasn't been that long. And of all headlines to emerge from this, it was about the offensive line of all things. How often does a head coach show up out of nowhere and talk to you? And then the most common headline that came out of this was about the offensive line. But what he talked about was who's going to play this guy's position starting next year and who might be working at some other spots. But let's start first with Matt Filer. I know how strongly you believe in Matt Filer.
Yeah.
Can he fill some very big shoes over there at left guard?
He could. So if he made the announcement that, Matt could be tried there, I'll say this too, because a lot of what goes on within a guy's mindset is about their potential, to succeed at it and also their potential earnings. Right tackles right now, they are getting very close to being paid like left tackles. Matt is also
close, not there. They're not
close,
there.
Not there.
Yeah,
not there.
They're not the
We've seen
blind
some
side.
Contracts.
Yeah.
No. But we've seen some contracts like, oh my goodness. But I'll say this, that has something to do with it probably, which would stop a guy from changing position. I know you say it's a team sport, and yes, I get that. But you put in a lot of work and you expect to be paid a certain way. And I'm not putting words into Matt's mouth. I'm just saying that could be one of the determining factors. Wink, wink. On the other side of that is Matt has grown to be very comfortable at right tackle. And from my understanding, he was very efficient according to our guys with the Steelers. And there was some outside entities that said he played well too. So you put both of those things in, you say, get a guy to where he's comfortable at his position and let him continue to get better. Changing Matt to another position, if he goes to left guard, I do think he will be successful. I thought he played very well against Aaron Donald when given that opportunity. And on top of that, it was shocking to me, even as a player, that they chose Matt to play that position over B.J. Finney, who was a slated left guard center backup.
But you know why they didn't. I
do know after the
because
fact,
he's backing up Marquise, and they're terrified of Marquise going down and not having a backup. I mean, I'm just sharing, okay?
That wasn't my understanding. My understanding was
feel free to correct me.
He was more fit for the matchup, and which was shocking for me because I have all kind of respect for B.J. Finney. A ton. I honestly thought he was at my heels a lot harder than it turned out to be. Truth be told, it was probably Matt Filer who is the biggest competition as a guy that's potentially going to move over to the left guard position. And I think we talked about this last week in a sense that you got to put your best five out there, and Matt's capable of doing it. But at the same time, Matt's just got into his professional career of being, hey, I'm not a move around guy.
Right. I'm a right tackle.
Exactly.
Well, in fairness, for full context, what Mike Tomlin said was that he expects that Matt Filer will take, and this is his exact term, the first snap at left guard. That means that he would also have, and to complete the process that Chooks Okorafor and Zach Banner would be basically battling it out at right tackle, which still leaves, I'm going to keep bringing this up because nobody else does, somebody has to back up Alejandro Villanueva at left tackle. I still don't hear a single name floated in that regard. And don't say Matt Filer, because at this point, he's going to start being the janitor over on the south side as well.
No, you're right about that. But I will say this, depending on how this matchup between Matt, between Zach and Chooks, who I love both of them, okay? And we've talked about the potential of Chooks for the longest, and we see what Zach has been able to do with falling into that role, I guess, of the 6-0 lineman, the big tight end. So whoever's in that position will be the swing tackle. I know Zach has played left also. It might be more of a bigger adjustment for Zach to move to the right side than it is for him to be a backup left tackle.
He'll agree with you on that. Yeah.
So, but all of that comes in if these guys are able to go into the building and stay in the building with reps. Like I said, when I moved from right guard to left guard, I was doing little stuff. It was just walking up and down the field, putting my left hand down, getting into a stance. And of course, you're going to get beat at certain stuff because you're not technically sound enough yet to be able to master the position. But as you continue to go, your body adjusts, your hips adjust. Your mindset and movement, with him, his right leg will become even more stronger because he's pushing off with that one more. It's just the little things. It's time, and hopefully these guys get time to be able to adjust to it. And even for Matt, the same thing.
Now, I know better than to debate you on offensive line stuff. However, just for devil's advocate purposes here, because we can always talk to each other like this. Yeah, for just and respectfully here. If Matt Filer stayed at right tackle, what is your solution at left guard?
My solution at left guard would probably be Wisniewski, honestly, and have the young guy as a backup.
Why is Wisniewski being? See, I'm coming back to my old position.
Why is he at it? Because
he can back up at center.
But at the same time, you have he has experience.
Yes.
I think the experience going into opening week and into camp would be one of the biggest factors as far as saying, hey, we're here to win right now. We're not trying to develop a group of guys like moving forward. I love my guys 100%, and I know those guys want to win right now. So who's going to be our best 5? If Matt says, screw this, I'm not going to left guard. I have laid down the ground for the last 2 years.
I can't picture him doing that. I can't.
He won't,
picture it.
but his agent will.
His agent will.
His agent will, and
he just doesn't have that personality.
You don't know Matt, okay?
All right. Again, I'm fighting an unarmed battle here. I'm just my own perception of the guy from a reporter's standpoint. I have a hard time, but okay, that's fine. That's fine.
And the reason I advocate for him so much is because I don't think we understand the ramifications of him changing position in his contract year.
Understood.
You go from saying, hey, here's my resume. I'm laying it out for all of you guys. You see it. Oh, you like me? You like me? You like me at that position. Oh, when it comes time for me to go into the free market, I have no new material for you guys because I got moved to left guard.
I got moved. You got no recent film. I will say this on behalf of Stefan Wisniewski. And that is that he is the only offensive lineman to have played left guard in 2020 because he was doing it in the Super Bowl the last time we saw him.
And you know what? I'll be even let's open up another can of worms also. I was overly shocked. I got to find a different word. I was beyond shocked, okay, when BJ did not sign back.
It was too, but maybe it might have been for different reasons than you.
It could have been.
I have information on my own about how much Mike Tomlin loves the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're on the same page there. I mean, I've heard that behind the scenes and everything. It's like, I mean that he said repeatedly, and he told this to our Dale Lally. BJ Finney is a starting offensive lineman in the National Football League. That's right from your head coach. And so, like, yeah, I understand. Seattle paid him a mint. Okay, I get that. I respect his decision. That's fine.
Yeah,
the fact that he didn't stay, wow, yeah. Didn't see
and
that.
And then, it was so many other different things. Like, if me and Marquise and I, for my English people out there, Marquise and I weren't practicing, BJ was breaking down the offensive huddle with Ben out. Okay? I do the breakdown in the locker room before we come out for introductions. If I wasn't doing the games that I was out, BJ was doing
BJ was. I didn't know that. Huh.
Crazy. Well, it would BJ and Marquise. He would call on BJ.
Okay.
And all preseason stuff, it was BJ. BJ, break them down. BJ this. And for the life of me, and once again, we don't understand the business of because you hadn't went into a GM position, okay?
Now, the other news, if you want to call it, that Mike Tomlin made was on the other side of the line, and that was saying that Tyson Alualu is going to be the first snap guy at nose tackle.
Yeah.
Before we get into how underappreciated Tyson is, which he really is, that term gets abused, but it's true with him. Does Steelers even need a nose tackle? Do you know what I mean? But Javon had his own thing going on there.
He did. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize how good he was in the game because you remember we talked about guys learning to be pros. Hargraves in practice would do some stuff, but he wouldn't do a lot. But you watch the games, and he was abusing people. Like, he really was that good. And for about 2 days, he was the highest paid nose tackle in the league before the kid in Cincinnati took it over. But do you need a nose tackle? I think yes, because the tools that they have at linebacker and having Bud and TJ at outside linebacker and being able to have Vince and and having Vince and what's the young guy named Devin.
Oh, Devin
Bush, in the middle. Yeah, having them two in the middle, man, I think you put all of your best athletes on the field in a sense. And of course, we always go to the 4 down front also, but having Tyson get the first stab at it, I think is only right because he's earned it. I know he helped mentor Javon for a good bit of it, in a sense of just showing him how to do certain things. Tyson would do a move, and Hargraves would come right back and do the same thing. I'm like,
oh, really?
Who's teaching
That's
who
funny.
over? Yeah, it's the little things like that. So I don't want to say they're going to hand him anything, but Tyson has definitely earned that first strike at it. And like I said, is the depth there as far as nose tackle is Big Dan. Did he sign back? I honestly hadn't signed back because he's one of those guys right now for like Big Dan instead of making
Big Dan. Million, he will never go away.
He's going to make $1 million a year.
1 year, $1 million into eternity.
10 times. He's gonna do that. He's gonna work there for 15 years because he's not getting a whole lot of work on game day. But he's one of those things, like you said. I'll take $1 million a year every year because why? I got size and I know how to. I'm learning to use it now. So.
Okay, let's go with Big Dan here for a second because he's somebody that the fans talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Big Dan's not going to be a penetration guy, nor does he pretend to be, nor is he asked to be. Big Dan gets sent onto the field whenever the other team is Leonard Fournetting you, for lack of a better verb, okay? And the coaches can't stand somebody running up the gut. I mean, on any football team, because I know you appreciate that from the other perspective. So they see somebody running up the gut, and all of a sudden, there goes 93 out onto the field. You're like, and the first thing you do is you look down at your roster and go, holy hell, Dan's still on the roster. This is amazing. What have you seen in him? Because the coaches clearly have to see something.
They do. One is his size, and I think Coach Dunbar is getting to the point where he can actually coach that up and get something out of it. And I'll be honest with you, his fearless leader in Cam demands it out of Dan, okay? But Dan is just who Dan is in a sense.
He is. And I didn't read this one wrong. Dan is Dan. He is Mr. Mild. He walks around real quiet with that chin up, but doesn't say much. Oh, my God.
If he had with a smirk on his arm, when he run on the field, he run with straight arms. You know?
Forrest Gump.
Yes. But I think they look at it in a sense. He does. If you look at it at him and you say it's going to be a play or two in this game where if we send him in, he's going to shut it down and they're not going to come back to it again. And that's, I think, is the mindset behind having him. And you got to admit, his size, he's a big dude, but he's not a big dude. Like, he's just a massive human being.
No,
you know?
he's it's hard to describe unless you're actually standing.
Exactly.
I mean, even you, when you're standing with Dan McCullers, you're like, hey, Dan.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a different world. And not to mention, he carries it so naturally. Like he's not one of those guys that had to go bulk up, or he's just a gigantic human being. And you can't, and I guarantee you, this is what Coach Dunbar, Coach Tomlin, and everybody has to say about this is you can't coach that.
No. And you know what? And it's just like anything that any guy or any coach ever has to deal with. If I ever let it go and somebody else gets more out of it than I did, they're going to hate themselves.
That's good. That's good too. That's one of those. Yeah, you give away the raw materials. People don't like that, and they watch the raw materials because that reflects on me as a coach, as an instructor, as an evaluator. That's right. That's good. Let's swing back to the nose tackle though. Is Tyson? He's not the same player. He's not the same type of player as Javon Hargrave. What can he bring to that position, assuming he sticks there?
Consistency. That's one thing for sure. You know you're going to get out of him. He's going to be consistent, and he's going to make his plays where they are at. And being at that nose tackle position is almost like playing O-line. Like you have to be very selfless. Like you're lined up at one position, you got one or two jobs, and that's it. And that's how I see Tyson being able to get that first shot and probably keeping it. Honestly, he's good enough to play some sub package too. But if you're saying we want a nose tackle starter, Tyson's going to fit that mold because he's going to do his job, and where there's a play to be made or exposing a center or guard, he's going to be able to do that too.
And you mentioned sub packages, but there's also rotations. We saw last year that Keith Butler and Mike Tomlin worked very hard to make sure that their defensive line men, plural, were rotated in hopes of keeping them healthy. Obviously, that didn't work out for Stephon, but it sure did for Cam, who looked better, even better in Game 16 than he did in Game 1. So that's going to be part of it too, and Tyson's going to be a big part of that as well.
I'm looking forward to seeing him start, man. He deserves it. Former first rounder, played his role, and now he's back in a starting role, potentially.
Okay, so we get on this call, and you say right away, did you see all the comments on the column? And, like, I mean, I know our readership. I'd like to think that I do, not being presumptuous or whatever, but I had a feeling when I read your draft of this yesterday that it was going to be something that was going to be intensely received. That's the proper terminology too, because you wrote something, and this is about youth sports and parents' behavior in youth sports, that directly hits home with a lot of people, including our readers, because they've seen that, they've experienced that. A lot of what you've described, Ramon, is stuff that they can't experience. They can't be out on the field against the Cincinnati Bengals and so forth, but they could relate to that.
Yeah. And it's interesting, and the thing that you said too is like, I expected it, but I honestly thought when I was writing this, I was like, I hope this is good. Like I was seriously, I was passionate about it because we were just coming off the weekend of seeing this kid. Like this kid's eyes were just sunk in; they were dark. He was no longer at this baseball game. Okay.
He was the kid being berated by his dad, by the way. And if you haven't read it, go read it. The kid being berated by his dad coming off the field, basically for just hitting a pop-up.
Yeah, pop-up.
Like Willie Stargell hit pop-ups, you know?
Exactly. And like I said before, I'm learning the game of baseball as my kids continue to play. So somebody told me it's the game of failure. I was like, you know what? It is. Batting 300, if you do a lot of other good things, will get you into Cooperstown. You know, it's just the little things that you find guys that get paid crazy amounts of money in baseball, and you be like, you batted a 232? You know, it's that type of mentality, and we fail to realize sometimes that you can ruin a fun time for kids just by you being overly passionate about something that doesn't involve you other than your time and your love for your kids. And this one particular kid, it was sad. It was sad to say the least.
Yeah, and you know, we all see those types of parents, and the truth is, and you pointed this out in your column, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. I mean, if you see something really bad, you know, that's different. That's when you step in, you call CYS, call the police, whatever it is, get involved. But for the most part, you're not going to make a good parent out of a bad parent.
No.
The best thing that you can do is set your own positive example.
Yeah.
In that sense.
And the thing that got me too is it made me think about some things in a sense of what makes a pro? As you know, something I'll talk about later. Like I've seen some kids that are just child prodigies that turn into professionals. Like Marquise is one of those kids. Like he was going to play NFL football, be a first rounder no matter what. I feel like Terrell and his brother were both of them that went first round. You see Minka be like, yeah, Minka was. There's nothing that was going to stop him from being a first round.
Right. Those are good examples. Yeah.
But it's some people or some kids that they end up being like me. You know, they're good enough. They work hard and they continue to get gradually better over time.
But nobody saw it coming. It's different. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why the part of your column that hit me the hardest, in a positive way, was when you went through your old offensive line teammates and said, "Look, you know, David DeCastro didn't start playing football until 9th grade." You know,
he made me feel like I should have waited. You know, but go ahead. My bad. It's interesting that there's no true sign. So to berate your kid because they had a bad play or even an entire bad game, that doesn't mean that that's the end of the world for them. That's, you know, it's just a bad moment for that time. And even going to Al, you know, Alejandro, he goes do 3 tours of duty just to come back and be a professional athlete. Like there are so many.
He learned football from you. No. I mean, he was. People don't know this. I mean, when he played in college, he was a wide receiver. He was a tight end.
Yes.
You know, I mean, this was not someone he had to. Those of us who remember what Allie looked like when he first showed up in camp, he looked like a wide receiver or a tight end. I mean, he had to not only add a lot of weight, but he had to learn a position and perform at an elite level.
Yeah,
be responsible for the franchise quarterback's blind side. You know?
Exactly. And the thing that was so interesting about Al's introduction, I remember when he walked on the field, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, here's another one of these projects they're going to try to make into a pro. That was the first thing that I thought of, in the sense that you don't know what it's going to take for a person to be a professional. So for parents who are trying to make a pro or the next Mike Trout at age 11, is the silliest thing ever. I got a quote from Dave, and Dave kind of put it in perspective because he's not anti-youth sports, but he's a realist about it. And he said something that was very, very true. It was like, kids hadn't even hit puberty yet.
No.
Well, like they don't even have underarm hair yet. And you want them to go jumping against the fence making Ken Griffey Jr. catches? Like, no, it's not going to happen.
No, there's something else though that you mentioned too, and even though this is intangible, this kind of twins with what you were saying about baseball and failure. One of the things that Clint Hurdle would always do with the Pirates is that he would focus on process as opposed to outcome. Mm-hmm. And I know that's something that you guys do as well in football. To an extent, it's more challenging in football because your outcomes are in a much smaller window with just 16 games. And as you pointed out in the column, if you were batting 300 on protecting Ben, okay, that wouldn't be going so well for Ben, never mind everybody else, right?
Exactly.
But if you focus in baseball, if you focus on process more often than not, that's, you know, did you have a good approach at the plate? Did you swing at the pitch that you wanted to swing at? And whether they end up being like RJ, your son, and hitting 2 bombs over the weekend, or they pop up like this poor kid, if they, you know, that's, you focus on the positive stuff, the controllable stuff, you know?
Yeah. And the thing that I'll tell anybody with my kids, you know, people see me as this NFL athlete or former pro player and stuff, and they'll be like, well, you know, you probably teach your kids so they train and no, none of that. Oh. The things I do to my kids is this. I make sure they're mentally strong and ready for whatever comes their way. If they have a good play, you know what I tell them? Make another good play then. I was like, when it becomes boring to you, that's when you're getting good at it. If you have a bad play, don't show them, because you'll have another play right after that. Those are the talks that I have with my kids. You know, it's not like, hey, go get a full scholarship. Absolutely not. I tell them, I don't care about your sports. I care about your grades and what type of human being that you are. And that's how I truly feel. If you want to do anything with your kids, this is my philosophy. Mentally help them in the good and the bad situations. If they do something good, well, go do it again. Okay, I like it, but do it again. Okay, because that's how you become a pro. The pros do it right every time,
And what you're
or
leaving
more
out,
time.
and what you're leaving out, and I know you don't intend to, is that every one of those lessons also carries off the field in terms of how you
Yes.
handle an adversity, whether it's in a school situation, a job situation, a life situation. Every
hmm
last one of those things, you become a little bit tougher and can handle anything that comes your way.
You gave me chills right there because you know why? You were so sincere in that, and I feel like you've told somebody that before. I really got
I
chills.
have actually.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
very sincere.
but I
I
believe
love
it, and
that.
I also remember though that you wrote when you did your column on mental toughness that Mike Tomlin recognized it in you as a strength almost right away, which tells you
Yeah,
something about his ability to perceive certain things in people, including young people, including
yeah,
being candid here, someone that maybe he shouldn't have been paying as much attention to
yeah,
when it
yeah,
came to you as an undrafted
yeah,
rookie. That maybe he should have just been focusing on the handful of guys they had just drafted. Instead, he saw
yeah.
something in you right away that was up here, that was under the helmet, that wasn't going to play out in drills, and that's impressive on a coach. But then you hear his message over the weekend, his own message that he put out about Father's Day, and related to how he handles Dino and his kids. Uh, and it sounded a lot like that. He just said that I invest in them and who they are up here, and let the rest play
Yeah,
out. You don't have to dictate
yeah.
who your kids are and what they are and what they
No,
do. Just give them the right, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like the right stage
the
for
right
it. You know what I'm
tools.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, give them the tools.
Exactly, exactly, and that's interesting you say that about him, and we'll finish it up. But since I'm done, he told me when you get done, I'll show you your combine profile. I was like, what? And this was year 10. This was last year. And he said everything that we said about you mentally is 100% true. He was like, give you something and you'll knock it down. Challenge you and it's nothing to you. Put you in a bad situation and you'll come out on top every single time. So I gotta see this profile, okay?
Oh yeah.
Is he said,
Wow.
Ramon, he said, because he's a nerd like that, though. And he'll tell you he's the first one to admit that. He looks back on stuff all the time. And he said the psychological evaluation we had on you is down to a T. He said
Wow.
everything that we thought about you is exactly what it was. So I have to see this to see what they were
Mm-hmm.
thinking.